Updates on legislation affecting North Carolina, from breaking down key bills to answering your live call-in questions. Senator Sawyer and David engage in meaningful conversations on the issues that matter most to our state. No matter your political affiliation, We're Just Saying keeps you informed and involved in the efforts to make North Carolina a better place for everyone. Welcome to the conversation.
Good morning, everyone. You're listening to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David on this Memorial Day weekend. If you'd like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929. Good morning, Senator Sawyer.
Good morning, David Coble.
How are you today?
I am just loving life. I mean, Billy and I were talking before the show, and there's a saying I maybe mentioned to you today that, what is it? Well-behaved women rarely make history.
That's true.
So I am continuing down that path of being poorly behaved in some people's political minds, and I'm just enjoying the ride. It's just so much fun.
Well, it's all a matter of perspective, right? But it's like we said, just don't go Lady Godiva down Brawley School Road, and you still have an image to maintain as a respectable elected official.
My Lady Godiva days were never here, nor shall they ever be up. I mean, somehow riding naked on a horse down Brawley School Road is not what I think should be.
No, to be fair, I'm sure there are some people that would be cheering you on, but yeah, it probably wouldn't be great for the image.
No, I don't think
it would not be great for the image.
There is a guy from Mooresville, though, who rides his horses in all around North Carolina, but in cities, and he does tricks on his horse. Have you seen him? He's
I have not seen him.
He's an African-American cowboy guy who loves horses, and he rides, and he just shows up in random places with his horse. It's the coolest thing. I wish I knew his name, but you'll see him sometime on social media.
Okay.
Doing tricks.
I'll have to give a look at that. I have not seen it.
Yeah, he's a Mooresville resident, so shout out to him for bringing joy and fun to people's lives.
Exactly. Well, you had joy and fun in Raleigh this week. The house doing house things.
Oh, man, it was rough. It was rough. Okay. And nothing. So this is when you have that analogy of you feel like you're running in sand or quicksand.
Yes.
It's exactly the way I felt like this week was. It was like all of this effort for nothing to get done.
Yeah.
And the nothing to get done is the budget. Now, it depends on perspective on who's, if something got done or not. So as a senator, I will say that the Senate didn't do much of other than repackaging bills and sending them back over to the House.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some that did some stuff that wasn't really good.
So let me ask you something.
I'm trying to be careful. You're going to have to make me.
I
got to be very political here
you do.
because.
Well, and there's still sausage being made, and you are a senior, well-respected member in the Senate, so you have to keep. But
maybe senior. I don't know. I respect it.
Well, I respect you. I respect you. That's at least I respect you.
Hey, my husband will be 55 this year, or is 55, so maybe I got the AARP.
Did you get the AARP?
I think I'm going to do it.
Are you going to join the AARP?
I was reading the benefits. There were some major benefits. I mean, like if I want to do a Viking cruise through, somewhere in Italy or whatever, I can get a 5% discount.
Well, I do. I mean, and the older you get, the more you love a good discount.
Yeah, I do love a deal.
I love a deal.
I wonder if I could sneak into Harris Teeter on Thursdays and get my senior
You probably could.
Out.
And next thing you know, you're going to be having, lunch at 9 a.m, dinner at 3, and to bed by 7.
Hey, and there will be no sweet and low package that would be safe on any.
No sweet and low package
that would be safe from not putting it into my pocket
or Kleenex or anything like that. Yeah. Your purse will become the Swiss Army purse that contains all things, including your medication.
Absolutely. Big brim hats. I keep talking about my moo moment like a Miss Roper, so I might just go in and give up on.
That's just what you need. Embrace it. Stop dyeing the hair.
No, exactly.
Just embrace it. Go gray.
You think I dye my hair?
No, never. I was speaking like metaphorically. That's what the. Well, actually, you know what? You and I are about the same age.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you dye your hair.
I do dye my hair.
As I know of no woman who has passed the age of like 40 who is sustaining a color of hair, right, that is natural, that where some gray doesn't creep in.
Really? Do you think so? I mean, I don't know.
I haven't seen them. As Billy watches YouTube over there.
Yeah. So my lovely hairdresser, Barb Pfeiffer, and on Main Street, Mooresville. And I enjoy seeing her from time to time on a regular schedule, maybe every 6 weeks. And I get to know what's going on in downtown Mooresville through the
Yes,
beauty shop. So really, it's an investment in my community. I choose to
I
give
agree.
back to the small businesses, and
I
if one
agree.
of the benefits is that I don't have gray hair, then that's just the benefit. This is selfless.
Yeah,
Really,
it
it's
is.
really
You
selfless.
are a giver.
I'm
There's no doubt
supporting
about that.
supporting local business.
But speaking of giving, the House gave the Senate its budget this week. So talk a little bit about. So what were some of the major differences, shall we say?
Well, there were a lot of differences. And that's normal, right? That's the normal sausage making. The House put together their proposal for a budget, and I know you guys hear budget, and please don't tune out, because it really is a big deal, because it's how and what you put us up there to do, which is to spend the money that you send to Raleigh in the best way possible. Well, the best way possible is a little different for the House and the Senate. And one of the big things that came out, and the source of contention, and I think a misstep by a certain group that will probably like kill me politically for this, but um, the House and Senate in last year's budget, in the 23 budget, had negotiated what they called tax triggers. So if there's enough money that comes into the state at that point in time, then another personal income tax reduction will come into play. And the Senate's contention all along was that these have been negotiated, the triggers are here, let's continue to move forward so we can get to a zero personal income tax break. The House, though, even though it was, back in 2023, it had been decided on. The House was listening to what the fiscal staff is saying and other people who are cautioning that these triggers could have a fiscal cliff. In
Mhm.
other words, that eventually, if we do enact these triggers, that we will not be able to fund the promises that we have been made to North
Mhm.
Carolinians all along. So there is a difference of opinion. And so where the Senate may have, and when I say Senate, I'm going to say the Senate budget writers. I don't know that necessarily represents me. Um, but when the Senate looks at that, it looks like as a renegotiation, or like a Lucy and the football kind of
Mhm.
situation with Charlie Brown, and where Charlie Brown and Lucy, who is the House, is holding the football. But what the House is saying is like, you really can't bind one General Assembly to the next General Assembly. Like we can change and renegotiate. We can do all these things. They want to keep the triggers but move them out, right? Um, the so the idea is just to make sure like that we can still get to that goal, but make sure that we're not going to hurt funding for government and stuff.
So now, to be fair, did when these triggers were contemplated and everything
Mhm.
like that, did they factor in a major hurricane that required you all to rebuild half of
So
Western North Carolina?
that's a fair point. That's a fair point, and that's what I'm sure a lot of the folks in the House would say. And I think that's a valid thing to mention, because there is a lot of money that we spent and continue to spend and want to invest to rebuild Western North Carolina. But um, so after that first blush, then we had some groups that went out and I thought was tacky.
Mhm.
I think it was other people thought it was tacky because they took the post down. But here we go. All right. Well, I'm probably will never going to run for Congress anyway. So let's go ahead and solidify that right now. um, so the Club for Growth put out this really kind of just bullish behavior.
And if you're not familiar with Club for Growth, they are they're a nationwide organization, does a lot of stuff at the local or the state and federal levels.
Mhm.
One of the key components of them is I think getting to zero personal income tax.
Right.
They lower taxes, hopefully to a point you get to zero. So that's kind
Yeah.
of the perspective they come from.
Yeah, and term limits, that's a big
And
thing for
term limits is a
them.
big thing as
Yeah,
well.
that's kind of their two tenets of stuff, and they've done good work before, but this one was a little rough. So the tweet or the statement from President David McIntosh from Club for Growth: anyone who votes for the Senate Bill 257 tax increase should expect to be held accountable on election day and kiss their political future goodbye.
Harsh.
The Club for Growth Foundation will include this bill in their annual scorecard, and Club for Growth PAC will not endorse anyone who votes for it.
So, couple things wrong with that.
Oh,
There is no tax increase
I
in any of those things,
right.
right? Now I get the perspective that we want it
Let's talk
lowered.
about that.
Okay.
Okay, because that's I've been really, and genuinely saying this. I did hear, and we listened to some statements that were made publicly from Senate leadership, and that this is a $2 billion tax increase. Like this budget that the House is presenting is a $2 billion increase. But for me, and what I'm trying to reconcile in my head is it? Is it? I mean, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts
So
about that?
here is my perspective. I have never. It's that in my again, David's
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
David speaks for no one but David. No one wants David speaking for them. Okay.
Oh, come on! Don't sell yourself short.
I'm selling myself very short because it's true.
Come
David
on.
speaks for David.
Okay.
I don't like that perspective for the same reason it annoys me when Democrats call a $400 million increase in Medicaid spending a cut because they wanted $800 million.
Uh, yes.
Hillary Clinton would make these statements that when people don't get what they expect to get, it constitutes a cut. That's crap. It is completely illogical. It's political wordsmanship. This is not a tax increase. My income tax bill is not, if let's assume this passed, which it's not, right? But let's assume that it passed. My personal income tax rate on my taxes would be absolutely no more than it was this year,
Gotcha.
unless I make more money. Okay.
Right.
My rate is not changing.
Right.
It's not going down. Right.
Mhm.
The fact that my rate has not gone down does not represent a tax increase to me
Gotcha.
because I've not paid anything.
Okay.
And so it's like, and so situations on the ground change, fiscal realities change. It's why by law, one, from a local level to a state level, one general assembly, one town board, one county commission cannot make a decision that binds future boards. That is a law. And so because realities do change. Now is halting these things. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know what all the fiscal projections look like. I do know that we are shelling out hundreds of millions dollars more into Western North Carolina for Hurricane Helene cleanup that was not planned on when these triggers were initially discussed.
Yeah.
And I understand that the majority of our folks inside the House and the Senate, very few of them fear a general election. The majority of them fear a primary. And when it comes to something like this, I get why that coming from Club for Growth would send alarm bells to a number of people. However, I also understand that we have hurricane, we have multiple transportation issues.
Gosh, yes.
Nothing is getting cheaper. Granted, inflation has been slowing, which is fantastic, but we still have a lot of commitments that have been made. And when the reality says, hey, you know what? I can't give you another discount, but I can make sure you don't pay more, right? Unless you make more money, right? And keep the rate the same. That seems perfectly logical to me. And it's statements like that. And again, I've done stuff with Club for Growth and believe in largely in the number of things that they try to do, fiscally speaking. But when things like that come out, you make it more difficult to govern responsibly,
right?
Because you have elected officials running in fear of a challenge from their right in this case, because they made the fiscally responsible decision in their minds, right, not to initiate another cut in income taxes.
So then, for me, let's just. I completely understand that. For me, I'm going to take it to the emotional level because I'm an emotional woman. And
wow, really?
Yeah,
just go down that road.
Yeah, just, of course,
right? Let's just go down that road.
Come on, I'm an emotional
you
woman.
said it. I didn't. I just want that
okay.
perfectly clear.
Hey, in my third quarter of life, I've realized who I am, and I'm comfortable with talking about it. I've got no gray hair, and I control my emotions. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so the emotional part of it is this. I mean, I guess maybe there's a freedom that Club for Growth came out and said that, because at least you now know how that organization thinks and feels and who is pulling their strings. Right. I mean, for them to get into the middle of a party squabble between a inter-party squabble in between a state house when they have a national footprint, that's pretty icky, right? I mean, that and then it kind of shows you that corporate culture of that organization about what they do. So in some respects, I think it's freeing. So now you know exactly where and how they're going to behave when it comes to like that, and behaving in a bullying tactic. Now, I do know that when someone bullies another person, especially at the elected level, openly like that, it does nothing more than solidifies that House caucus together through a united enemy, which is the Senate leadership. And in fact, you are building walls when we should be breaking them down. And that type of behavior was absolutely unprofessional. And I personally apologize to my House delegation, not because I had anything to do with it, but because I knew how that would make them feel.
Mhm.
And you just, when you bully somebody openly like that, for them to come on, just which is a philosophical difference, now you go from having just like, let's talk and work it out, to I hate you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's hard to get through that I hate you when you really need to do the work of the people.
Well, and to be fair, I would wager that the overwhelming majority of North Carolina taxpayers, none of them is sitting around saying, I can't wait to purchase my house next year because the Senate in 2020, or because the General
Yeah.
Assembly in 2023 said my taxes were going to go down to here. And I've already
Yeah.
done the math.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
And so the fact that, I mean, people don't want a tax increase. They're
Gosh,
basically
no.
saying, look, don't take my rate. My rate's what, 399 right now, or something like that?
It's going to go to 399.
Or go 239. So it's like 425 right now.
Yeah, and then it goes down to 399 with one trigger, and then down to like 1 point. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
I mean,
whatever.
The practical impact of 0.25 to 0.399 for the majority of tax is negligible.
Mhm.
It's negligible.
Mhm.
You spread it out. I mean, I haven't done exactly the math, but that's not the difference in me buying a car or owning a house or anything like that. That's
Mhm.
not a huge amount of money for most people. And so I haven't seen any protests in the street clamoring 399, 399. All right, all
Just
those
wait.
people, all those
Today's
people. Well,
show.
it'll get organized now. I'm
Yeah,
sure,
I know.
and they'll get
'Cause
bussed
our wide
in.
listening audience are
But
gonna come.
nobody in those protests in Raleigh
Yeah.
a few months back was out
Yeah.
there 399 or bust.
Yeah.
And so there needs to be honest dialogue and honest discussion. Both sides need to be respected in their point of view. Say, hey, look, we have these fiscal triggers. We feel like that it's okay. You have folks on the House side saying, we're looking a couple of years out and this makes us nervous, right? That is responsible governing to have those conversations and change course if necessary.
Right.
So you guys will come to an agreement. You'll talk about it. You'll figure something out. It might be December, like most years, before it finally happens. But I agree with you that was a tacky thing to do, to inject yourself that way, especially when this is the beginning of a negotiation.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically a way to create enemies, and politics is a game of addition and not deletion. And
Absolutely.
if we continue to delete, well-intended electeds in in respective in the House, then we will turn it into nothing more than what Congress is. And well, they did pass a big, beautiful bill.
They did pass the big, beautiful bill.
They did pass the big, beautiful bill.
We're interested to see if it gets past the Senate. I think the Senate's a little bit tougher well, actually, I don't know. They're both tough these days, but
yeah,
the margins are so slim. But they're doing it through the reconciliation process, which means I guess they only need a simple majority.
Yeah, kind of like our conference.
Yeah, and the people yelling about the reconciliation process are the same people who passed Obamacare exactly the same way. But we won't talk about that. But so as far as it's not the budget differences weren't just about tax rates.
Yeah,
right?
it wasn't just about tax policy. So here we go. So my notes. Thank you for. Hey, I actually did some good show prep. I've got the personal income. I'm surprising myself here. Okay. So the delayed schedule income tax cuts is 3.99, and then the Senate plan is going to move it to 1.99. So it is a tax cut, which I do support. Absolutely support.
Oh, yeah.
I do want to see that all of our taxes go down across the board, because it is not fun paying taxes, and it is hard to recruit businesses when you are looking at other states who have a more advantageous tax package than we do. So, but there are commitments that need to be honored, and Hurricane Helene is a big one. So I see both sides of that. Now the House will say they did actually decrease taxes today, because what they did is they increased the standard deduction by $500 per person and $1,000 for family. So right now, the first 25,000, I think it's $25,500 of your income is not taxed, no matter who you are. So this would just raise that. So then that is a tax break for everybody.
And to be fair, the majority of people use the standard deduction.
Yeah. Yeah.
The vast majority of tax filers are using the standard deduction.
That's right. So the House came back and said these are actual tax cuts today, not in the future. Now, interesting. This was very interesting. A teacher's pay increase to 8.7%, which would make them North Carolina the top state for teacher pay in the Southeast for starting teachers.
Yeah, because it would take it up to what, $50,000?
Yeah, over $50,000 without. Then that is not even including benefits and all that other stuff.
Does that include does that include the local supplement as well?
No, I don't think it
so the
includes
local supplements will be added on top of that.
Which, you know what? Did you know that Iredell County has like the lowest local supplement of any county that surrounds us?
I did, in point of fact.
That is absolutely just interesting. So I shared that with our local county commissioners. I know they're in the budget season. Hopefully they'll help and, be able to pull that back up so we could get some more funding for, local teacher pay, because it is hard because teachers make cost of living is different than Hyde County than it is in Iredell,
Yes.
right? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
there's some counties where the teachers are, one of the highest paid people, and so
Mhm.
it's hard to statewide to look at that one approach. That's why that local supplement's so important. So county commissioners, please look at that increase into the local supplement for teacher pay. But the House budget does have an 8.7% increase, and only 2.5% for other statewide employees. Now the Senate difference is that we heavily invested in law enforcement, our correctional institutes, and those type of folks who've kind of been increased in pay, but not to the level that can be competitive,
Mhm.
especially for those who are in our prisons. So that's a big difference. The House cut 3,000 vacant positions, which is called lap salary, which is called agency fund money, I guess. Now, Democrats will tell you, well, it's because of poor benefits and low pay that these positions are not being filled. Republicans will say, no, it's once these positions, there's no incentive to fill those positions, because once the position has gone unfilled, the money goes back to the agency, and then the agency has total control
Mhm.
of what they can do with that salary. So there's that back and forth there. Um, Back to school sales tax holiday the House wants. What are your thoughts about that?
The back to school sales tax holiday.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I don't.
yeah,
I mean, again, what is that's one of the things that I always kind of look at is what are the practical implications
yeah,
of said. It sounds great, right?
yeah,
But on a what is that actually? On $100 bill,
yeah,
if I've got $100 school supply bill, right? What is
yeah,
that? What is that no sales tax actually saving me,
yeah.
right? I mean, I think maybe four or
Well,
five
maybe my
bucks,
AARP
six.
discount could save
Your
me that.
AARP, absolutely. Do they give discounts for school supplies on the
Well, I
AARP
mean,
side?
I'll try.
Well, yeah, you can, but you make it happen. But to me, it's what's the practice. And I know there are some families that every little bit helps,
Oh, for sure.
but but sales tax is a cumulative effect,
Hmm.
right? We get a lot of money from sales tax,
Hmm.
and it's not big numbers, right? It's tacked on usage.
Yeah,
It's based off what you use, and it generates a lot of money,
yeah.
and it comes in based off of use. And I'm a big sales tax guy. If we went to no personal income tax at
Hmm.
all, on made everything on sales tax,
Yeah,
I'd be
that's
100%
my
for that.
philosophy too,
I'd be
actually.
100% for that,
Yeah,
because then it's based off use. You have control
right,
over how much you're paying,
right.
and exempting certain goods, like you get milk and bread. I mean, I think there's some
Raw milk?
exemptions. We already did the raw milk thing.
What kind of milk? Raw milk
Oh,
or
sure, why
pasteurized?
not? You get a holiday. You get a holiday. Everybody gets a holiday. Raw
Everybody
milk
gets a
too. But I think
holiday.
I think the cumulative effect is something that has to be looked at. Fine, whatever. If you want to do the back to school thing, fine. I don't know that it's a huge deal. It sounds great. I mean,
Well, I would
people, oh
always.
yay, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure how much
So
practically
you
it
know how I
helps.
love a deal, right?
Oh yeah.
So when we did have the sales tax holiday, and we were like poor when we started our agency, so I would wait to buy everything for my office, including computers, everything on
Well,
the sales tax
yeah.
holiday.
So,
I
and I'm sure
mean,
that translates to real savings for you then. I
yeah,
mean,
I
if you
mean,
got a
at that
huge bill like
point,
that,
but
absolutely.
that's the thing. Like, that's what people do is they will. The intent is to, help young families as they prepare for school, right? But the practical effect is cheap Vickie Sawyer, who's trying to update all of her computers at her office, is going to be like buying all of her computers on that weekend,
Right.
right? I mean, and you're talking that amount of money on thousands of dollars. I mean, that adds up.
It does add up, and
Yeah,
if you're having huge purchases like that, but I think most people when they think the back to school
yeah,
holiday, it's like, oh, my notebooks and my
yeah.
pencils and my pens and stuff like that. So
So, and then the last one that's a big difference is the way there was a budget proposal by Senate leadership to fund a children's hospital, which was a collaboration between Duke and UNC Health, specifically for, like I said, children hospital.
yeah,
I know.
it's not just a clever name.
Yeah, it actually has practical implications.
That's literally what they're doing. It's like great marketing. A children's hospital where they will
Uh,
treat children.
yeah.
Oh,
Duh. Is that what they do?
mind blown.
So what we'll see is in that budget, the House did not. There was no funding for you. There
No
was
funding
no
for you.
funding for you on
So
a
they hate
children's
children.
hospital.
That's what we're saying. They hate children.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So there is that. I mean, and to their point, it is a private business. That is a lot of money that we're putting into a private business. It's heavily regulated. That is, has funding, and we have some really great children's hospitals, especially down in Charlotte. I know that my daughter was a recipient of some amazing care during a really horrific accident, and we had Brenner's. I don't know if it's still Brenner's in Wake Forest, but I remember that as a young Winston-Salem resident that they were there. But so, anyways, I think the house is like, in a time of hurricane and rebuilding, should we really be spending that amount of money for a for-profit business?
And and that's fair. And
You know,
that's a fair discussion to
yeah,
have.
right.
It's a challenging, like I said, it's a challenging discussion because the moment you do, you hate kids, right? It's like you want to see kids, not get healed and things like that, which is not the
Oh,
case, all right? But
well,
but it's I get it, and there is I struggle philosophically sometimes
yeah, me
with that
too.
kind of
Me
stuff. But
too.
also, what I will say is that if you want private industry to do certain things,
Yeah,
right, and
then you have to
behave, I mean,
incentivize them.
very few, it would
Mhm,
be great if all private business functioned in a way where it was to do what is best
mhm.
for everybody.
Yeah,
That's not the reality,
yeah,
right? It's they want to do what's best for everybody while
yeah,
doing what's best for them,
yeah,
and it is a balancing act,
yeah.
right? And like it's like, a lot of local governments right now big on attainable housing.
Hmm.
They want developers to set aside a certain percentage of their homes for attainable housing. Okay, so you're asking the evil developer to take a hit, right, on what, and people think developers make these insane margins. They don't.
Right.
But if you want that, you have to provide some type of incentive back.
Hmm.
Government's got to do something, either
Hmm.
a tax break on those units or something to give the tool for them to
Right.
do that.
Right.
Right.
Oh, right.
And so, or
Well,
because all it does is just raise the cost of the other houses on the other side.
I
So,
know.
but I support kids. I'm not going to hold an opinion at
And the
all on the children's
unhoused,
hospital
the you support kids and the unhoused
and the
and the
unhoused.
unhoused.
Exactly.
Well, you know who else supports the house budget right before the break, which was very, very interesting. So we talked about how Club for Growth came out against it and then took down the post. But interesting enough, the state treasurer Brad Briner came out in support. The Faith and Freedom Coalition came out in support of the House budget. And not to be outdone, Governor Stein came out in support of the House budget.
Well, that might be
So
the
I
death
feel,
knell for it right there.
so I feel like
Talk about don't do me any favors.
yeah, I know.
You're listening to We're Just Saying. We'll be right back.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hurricane Helene, devastating impacts on the Southeast. Now it's time to help the people and communities who need it most. To make a one-time financial gift to the American Red Cross and enter how much you'd like to donate. Or go to redcross.org/donate. Together, we will make a difference for those recovering in hard-hit communities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the ANC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with this station.
This is John Stossel. Anything that makes it harder for you to speak limits your life. So if stuttering affects you or your child or someone you know, you can call the Stuttering Foundation for help. The number is 800-992-9392. That's toll free 800-992-9392. Or you can visit their website, www.stutteringhelp.org. They can refer you to expert help in your state.
Welcome back to We're Just Saying with Senator Vickie, Sawyer, and David. If you'd like to be part of the show, 704-873-9929.
Yeah.
So we've
Do you want to talk about what got me in trouble?
Yes,
week?
I absolutely want to talk about what
Are you
got you. Those are
sure?
one of my favorite topics.
Are
But
you
are we
sure?
done nerding out on the budget?
I think we're done nerding out on the budget a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
I mean, unless
what
you have any other budgetary items that
I'm
you want to talk
good.
about.
I'm really good.
I'm really done with budget.
Yeah,
It's kind of like the
absolutely.
word diet.
Exactly.
You know, like the
Calorie counting. I put it in the same thing as budgeting.
Yeah.
So what did you do to get in trouble this week? Well, what else did you do to get in trouble this week?
Well, we were talking about it this morning a little bit, so I'll approach the subject, but don't get weird on me. But I'll be okay.
Don't get weird. Okay.
So if you are a loyal subscriber to the Charlotte Observer or some of those the Twitter, you'll see that I was quoted this week about a proposal for the Charlotte Transit tax and how this is working out. And I think the timing of the article was probably not the best because it just had so much other stuff going on with the tension between the House and the Senate. I think everybody is concerned, no matter if it's about Charlotte Transit or, I don't know, pool cleaning bill or whatever, about the breakdown in communication between both and if there are bills are going to move or not. And I contend that we should, because the responsible thing to do for the people's business is do the people's business, right? And so hopefully that won't.
Just
But
put that on a bumper sticker. The best way to do the responsible way to do the people's business is to do the people's business.
Hey, is that like a Yogi Berra thing?
I think it is.
It is.
I think it is.
Yeah, that was
It
stupid.
ain't over till it's over.
It ain't over till it's over, baby.
Man, you're throwing out all kinds of Captain Obvious today. Children's hospitals treat children. Doing the people business is doing their business.
I should have brought my cape in. I usually
I know, right?
my Captain Obvious cape, because I sure am flying those colors today. But no, so in that time, and then we had a reporter come up, and a friend of mine and friend of the show, Senator Todd Johnson, was also from Union County, was quoted. And the question is, and always these questions are, is the bill, is it going to pass? Where is it at? It hasn't moved. What's going on? And I think that's fair because there's been a lot of publicity around there. So I expect for those questions to be asked. Sometimes when the answers come from what I see, it's not the way that people want me to answer those questions. But to me, I can't play games. I mean, we sit on here every week for an hour and we talk, right? I'm not smart enough to continue to be able to curve my, words to be political speak so that some people don't I mean, like, I just don't play those games. I'm just telling you, this is what's up. What is up? And
Well,
what is
I've
up?
told you before, and I mean it with all sincerity and all due respect. You're a bad politician. You really are. You're a bad politician. Now, you're a wonderful representative of the people, but you're a bad politician.
I am. I really am.
And I did all due respect.
I know.
And many people will not take that as a criticism. They'll take it as a compliment.
As well I do.
But no, so many
That's
times
all
I
I
call
do.
you, Vickie, could you not have said that a different way?
Yeah.
Well, what was wrong with the way I said it? It's really okay. It's what I love about you. It's one of the things I love about you. But yes, you are not a good politician.
Well, neither is Trump.
No, that's true. And Trump,
So
Trump.
I will.
But I think Trump might be in the opposite direction from you. I think Trump may be overly honest on a lot of different things. You at least try to be sweet about it.
Yeah.
But yes, you were quoted.
I was quoted several times about what I see and the political hurdles that a bill like that will have in Raleigh. And what is surprising to me is that anybody would feel shocked about me basically restating everything I've said all along. I mean, like, nothing I said was like oh, well, that's really different. And da da da. I'm like, dude, I've been talking about transportation, number one issue across North Carolina for the most part, right? And building roads and the need for communities to be able to meet the demands of the roads because the NCDOT simply isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, and so we need a statewide approach.
Well, and 100%. And I think one of the things that also I think makes it very tough is that, especially with this transit deal, right? I mean, there is a lot riding on it, right? I mean, there is, it's almost a 2 decades long strive to try to get some type of public transport and everything like that, the light rail going to alleviate traffic, right? And there's a lot of people invested in it, a lot of people passionate about it, and totally understand and respect it. The biggest challenge that I think that you have and other elected official has is, a quick 30-second soundbite, a quick couple of sentences in a news article is not all encompassing to relay your total feeling on it, right?
Mhm.
And I think that, one of the things, like, I understand people see, well, why isn't she rah 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 rah? Why isn't she
Right.
all in? We're doing everything we can, and da, 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 da. It's like, yes, you could very easily do that,
Mhm.
right? But you are honest about the political hurdles that have to be overcome,
Mhm.
which would hope that all those people who are firmly on the side of one of the transits, like to me, it's almost like a mobilization. It's like, guys,
Mhm.
I'm giving you honestly the hurdles I see to this,
Mhm.
so help me out.
Right.
Call your elected officials, get involved, bring some people from the business community, go
Mhm.
down, help me advocate for this. Because
Mhm.
I think a lot of times, and I saw it when I was on the board in Mooresville, when we would go down to, it was municipal day, right?
Mhm.
Whenever local government day,
Mhm.
you would go and you'd sit down as a board member, and you would sit down with your elected official. It's a
Mhm.
member of your community, know them, love them, probably for years. Hey, we would like to get this done. And then it's like, okay, well, they'll get it done. And it's like, and
Mm.
then when it doesn't happen, it's like, well, Vickie, why didn't you get that done?
Right.
And it's like, this is not a one woman show. This
Mhm.
is a very much a team effort there. And to be open and honest, there are people who are reticent about this.
Mhm.
They need to be convinced.
Right.
And so when I hear that, I hear, okay, there's work to do.
Right.
Let's get on it. Let's get on work. I don't, I understand the feeling of some people say, well, why isn't she passionate about this? Why
Mhm.
isn't she pushing it? And it's just like, well, you are pushing it.
Yeah.
You do want to, I mean, your name's on the bill, for God's
Yeah.
sake.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like you're going to torpedo your own bill.
No.
But at the same time, you're being honest about the hurdles
Yeah.
that you see.
Yeah.
The challenge, and I think we all know how this works, is you're being honest about the hurdles you see, and people may be hearing things on the other side.
Mhm.
Like, oh, no, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
The truth is generally somewhere in the middle,
Right.
right? And you're just being honest about it. And I
Mhm.
think, and I understand people getting nervous, right, when you're not rah rah sis boom bah.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it's like, I appreciate the fact you're being honest about the hurdles that
Thank you for that. Am I ever really rah 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 about anything real? I mean, I don't know that my approach has ever been that way towards other than child marriage.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, well, you were pretty rah rah sis boom bah about the North Carolina High School Athletic Association.
oh yeah, maybe that took it out of me.
You were pretty up
Yeah.
on that one. You were pretty up
Yeah.
on that one.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah,
outside,
but that
but
was
no, as
protecting
a,
the little man
it
against the
was.
tyranny of a
It
horrible
was.
organization that is sucking our schools dry. I'm
Still,
sorry. Yes,
still.
Oh, there she is.
There she
there's
is.
Victoria.
There she is. There she is. But no, but
But
to be fair, no, you're not. You're always very pragmatic. You're always very practical.
well, and because over this years that I've been serving, when years, I mean, this is my fourth term, sixth year, seventh, 6.5 year, whatever. I have worked on so many things that are still not done, right? And just because of the politics of things, sometimes, like I keep saying, that Raleigh is the place where bad politics and good policy converge.
Yes.
And it is really hard sometimes to get over those bad politics, right? I mean, it just is. And so, no matter how hard you can rah, 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 I mean, one person only has so much political capital.
Mhm.
And if someone is hellfired, like, no, I am not going to, any way support a tax increase. And that is not just one person. That was just one person who was brave enough to actually talk about it to a reporter. But what he said out loud is what I'm hearing from our Senate caucus all the way through. Like, why would I vote for a tax increase for the Mecklenburg County before, and it only benefits Mecklenburg County, and it puts it at a disadvantage those counties that are in their MPO. It puts at a disadvantage for competition for statewide dollars and then unfortunately, like last week, the city manager, I know, tries to do really good. He kind of said the quiet part out loud when he talked about how that they could use this money as transportation tax so then they can supplant and use more money for other prep projects. I'm like, dude, come on. Like, you said that quiet part, that everything that people are telling me behind the scenes, you just said out loud. And do you not think that quote went through my little, group of senator friends that are all, communicating these? And I respect the fact that I have good enough friends who will be honest with me in the Senate about this policy and their reservations. And I am just relaying the political landscape from those who have talked to me about that to everyone who wants to listen to. And the only way to get over that hurdle, well, there's two ways. There's two ways to get over the hurdle. And Senator Johnson said it in the article: no tax at all or a statewide approach.
Mhm.
Because then everybody gets the same opportunity to bolster their own communities with transportation dollars at a local level where the rubber meets the road when it comes to traffic concerns, because these local guys who are having to approve all of these developments, they really don't want to do it, but they have to by law. And the reason why people are upset is because of traffic.
Yeah.
So let's just give them another tool in the toolbox so that they can, control their own destiny instead of waiting on broken promises that continue to be delivered by the DOT.
Yeah. Well, and then also I think that, one of the things that we have to do, is to take a look when people who are on any side of any issue, right? When you hear an elected official say, these are the realistic hurdles that I've got. These are the criticisms that I've got. Like you just said, right now, there's basically been two options put out there. You know what? Come up with a third. I mean, if you're passionate about this, figure out, come up with a third, and that's what you've been, and you've been working to that. But you need assistance doing that, right? I
Right.
mean, you know a lot about transportation. You're not an expert in it,
No, God,
right?
no,
You know
no,
enough
I'm
about
a
tax policy.
student.
Yeah, you're a student. So
Mhm.
the brains out there in the business communities and stuff like that, it's okay. We have an elected official saying these are my hurdles,
Mhm.
right? All right. How do we get over them?
Right.
What can we do? Let's get creative here. Let's figure
Mhm.
out a creative solution to remediate the real issues
Mhm.
that are being relayed, and all you
Right.
can do is relay what you're hearing and what you're being
Right.
told.
And I think it's
So
the only and fairest way to do it, because this is where the bad politician comes in. I could very easily go around town and say that everything's going to work out and all this other stuff. And then let them, and I could tell them what they want to hear. Well, first of all, I can't, because my DNA won't allow that. But the bad politician, in me, I can't hide the political truth, because the cover up is always worse than the lie, right? And it's better to just be honest from my perspective and what I'm hearing. And then that way, that's how good business skills get done. That's how good policy gets worked through. That's how you get everybody to the table to work on a solution. And that's how you get things done. Now, just pushing it and shoving it and hiding it and all this other stuff in different places and tricking the General Assembly to do these things, that is not a healthy approach to legislation.
No.
It's just not,
No.
especially when it comes at the burden of a possible tax increase that would give winners and losers in transportation in the Charlotte region.
Right. And I mean, when we look at it, I think every single person can agree Charlotte needs the help. We need the help. And I mean,
Yes.
and it's not just a Charlotte thing. It's an Iredell County thing. It's a
Yeah.
Union County thing. It's a Cabarrus County thing. All of the surrounding counties around Charlotte feel the pain and the impact of traffic
Yeah.
coming in, because everybody's growing out, right? Charlotte
Right.
doesn't have much more room to grow internally. So everything grows out. And we've all been thankfully been very have been very beneficial in the growth of Charlotte, right? I mean, regardless of if you don't like,
Yeah.
sitting in traffic in Cabarrus or Union or Iredell County, there has been a lot of benefits that has come from the outgrowth of
Yeah,
growth in Charlotte.
right.
This is something that Charlotte needs right now.
Correct.
This is something that is needed, and and being able to get out there and try to push it forward. But you can only be honest about what you're hearing and
Right.
what the pushback that you're getting,
Mhm.
and and honestly, it's like a call to say, okay, then help me help you.
You know,
Help me help
yeah.
you.
So many times I see these big initiatives that get a lot of press and and I'm not talking about the Charlotte Transit tax in this moment, but um, the over time I've seen where you get big money guys who come in and they're lobbying hard, and they want to get this one initiative coming through. To mind, I'm thinking medical marijuana, I'm thinking gambling, I'm thinking casinos, I'm thinking like all of these like VLTs, video lottery term, all of these things. And none of that has gotten passed.
Mhm.
And yet every one of those guys were told that they could get it done. Somebody said, I can get it done.
Mhm.
Right. And then at the end of the day, I always feel sick because those guys go home, promises are broken. And then you have to like gin up and do it all again next year. And I find that disingenuous. I mean, like, let's just have the honest conversation and just be adults and get through the tough policy of this, because it is a tough policy.
Well, and I think a lot of times we don't have an appreciation for the fact that, our leaders in the House, our leaders in the Senate, and everything like that have their own constituents that they
Mhm.
have to deal with. They have their caucuses that they have to deal with.
Mhm.
And then they have each other on the House and Senate
Yeah.
side. That is a lot of cats to herd to
Mhm.
get major initiatives passed. And we see it every single, every 2 years when we talk budget.
Mhm.
It is a painful process, even though both sides are Republicans,
Mhm.
super majorities and stuff like that. It is still
Mhm.
a painful process to get done, because it's not just one issue or one constituency. It's multiple different ones across,
Mhm.
and you have got to find a way to get to the votes. I mean, and it's always messy and it's never easy and it never comes out the way that you want it to. 100%. Nobody ever gets 100% of what they want.
Yeah, I hope not.
Well, yeah. Well,
I mean,
I would like to get 100% of what I want, but but it just doesn't work that way in our legislative process.
Speaking about percentages and what you want. So you reminded me of a fun thing that we did together when it was an agreement of sorts. And your unpaid campaign manager when we were running in my contentious primary.
Okay.
All right. So David would call me and there would be something going on. I don't know, whatever. Somebody said something did it. He's like, okay, Vickie, I really think you should do this. And I'd be like, okay. And then I wouldn't do it. So then the next day he would call and he's like, Vickie, now this is being said and I think we should do this. I think we should do that. I'd be like, okay. And then I wouldn't do it.
No.
And then like, finally, the third day came, and he rose from the dead. And then the third day came, and David would say, Vickie, I think we need to do this. And I would say, okay, I'll do it. And I actually did.
Yes.
So we have a 33.3% rule that
well, it's not my rule. To be fair, it is your rule. You have agreed to act on what I ask you to do 33.3% of the time.
Yes.
And that is all I'm ever getting. Yes. Okay. That is all I'm ever getting out of it. But that's 33% I didn't have before.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there was a time when it was nothing, but 33%. And that's just sort of the reality.
That's the bad politician in me.
That is the bad, because honestly, if you listen to me more often, you'd be a much better politician. You really would, because you have scruples that I just don't. I mean, let's just be honest. There's a code you live by that just doesn't flow its way to me. But if politically speaking, of course. Yes, you would be a much better politician if you listen to me. And that's just the fact. But you are who you are, and you're Vickie gonna do Vickie, and I have learned to accept that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I got to lay my head down at night, and then whatever I can stomach or get through this process, because it is the end of the day. Well, everybody says the end of the day, but I was going to do another political Captain Obvious speech there.
Yes, the day does end.
But so Brett always reminds me of something. He said, Vickie, the people in Raleigh do not elect you. The people at home do.
Yes.
Right. And for the frustrations that you feel in Raleigh and some of the disrespect that happens amongst all members and some of the taking advantage, all the stuff that's like that inside sausage making stuff, people don't care about that at home in Iredell County. They care about that you answer your phone, that you try to, make sure you can help resolve their issues. You work with them. You do have some stuff going on with roads that you have seen them improvements. You've done these things. Like, think about that, because the people in Raleigh are not going to be with you on Memorial Day weekend hanging out at your house, right?
No,
it's going to be your loved ones and your friends and your family. Those are the people you answer to, not to the people in Raleigh.
Yeah. But you tell me, I mean, there's a way to get this done somehow.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a way to get this done.
100% there's a way to get this done.
People just got to put their heads together and figure it out.
Yeah. It's just, and yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not that I'm working against it. I'm just working for all of North Carolina, not just for one county.
Right. No, totally fair. And then real quick, I do want to, before we get out of here, make sure that we mention the state trooper item that you've got. So exciting news if you want to be a state trooper.
Yes, you should.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm way past my prime.
You don't think you could do it?
No, I could not.
I don't think you would be a good enforcer. I think because you like the speed a little bit, I think you would.
I
think you would have a hard time giving people tickets. Or do you think you'd be totally a ticket guy?
No. I'd be like, man, come on. Really?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Just slow down.
They say there's no quotas, but I don't know.
Oh, there's got to be quotas.
They say
like if you never write a ticket, somebody doesn't say something. Hey, there's no way in the world you didn't find a speeder in front of you.
That's true.
I mean, it's almost like a proof you're doing your job. But no, I feel like, well, it would depend. I would probably be, if I pulled someone over and they were like, those guys you see on the social media and stuff like that. I was like, no, I don't have to give my license.
Oh, the
sovereign citizens, stuff like that.
Oh,
dude, I'm writing you up 6 ways from Sunday, and I'm probably going to tase you. I mean, I have no patience whatsoever for stuff like that at all. It's just like, but then the person who goes, officer, what's the problem? Well, do you know how fast you were going? Yeah, I know how fast I was going. That's the person I'm gonna be like, okay, just don't do it again.
Yeah.
Just don't do it
So
again.
you would be a benevolent
Be safe.
cop, right?
Yeah, I'd be a benevolent
Yeah.
cop. I mean, because look, I get it. I speed all the time.
Yeah.
What I do, never more than
listening.
9. Never
They're
more than 9
listening.
over.
Yeah, that's
As my
okay.
insurance agent, I always want to clarify that to you. But
hey, I'm all for the pay increase. Keep speeding.
yeah, but
I mean,
actually,
yeah.
for the state troop program, you can now
Yes.
be paid to get trained.
Yeah, so they started this issue because they were having trouble recruiting, and so they thought out of the box. And so now you will be paid as a state trooper with the salary as you are going through basic law enforcement training school. So most of those are done at local community colleges. So if you want to be a state trooper and you have a barrier for being able to afford to be able to go to school, then and also to work, then this is an opportunity for you to be able to get paid while you're going to school and to become a state trooper, which is cool. And they got these really cool new Mustangs. Have you seen them?
I have not.
I've ridden in one.
Are they cool?
Oh my gosh. They sound like crazy cool. They've got massive horsepower. And Iredell County was fortunate to get a recipient of 2. So they're one of the only counties that got actually 2 of these Mustangs. So if you're driving on 77 and 40 in Iredell County, be careful because they can come and get you. But yes, they are beautiful cars. They're beautiful cars. They can't take my Tesla though.
Hopefully, I will never see one in my rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I will always see it in front of me.
Sounds like there should be a toast to that or something.
Absolutely.
May the lights always be in front and not behind you.
Exactly. May the blue lights always be in front of me and not behind me.
Yeah, maybe that's a better.
So Memorial Day weekend, you got plans?
Yeah, I'm staining my dad, or I'm doing
You know how to party.
I do.
You know how to party. Settle down there, Vickie.
Remember going back to that whole running through sand analogy?
Yeah.
So legislative life and in my work insurance life, it just feels like there's always more to be done. You know, you never are finished, but there's something very freeing about starting working on a project and then finishing it and looking back and saying, I did that. So I am absolutely going to hopefully get that done. But if not, then I'm just gonna have to call the man.
Yeah.
Like Aunt B did.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you got to do.
But I don't want to call the man yet. I'm going to try it. How about you?
It's good you're motivated.
Yeah,
That's always good.
Yeah.
Pretty much my everything pretty much focused on graduation. My son Andrew graduates high school tomorrow, if you can believe that.
Yes.
So congratulations to him and the entire Mooresville High School class of 2025. He had graduation practice this morning, and then I'd forgotten that you practiced for graduation.
Yeah.
Like we practiced for graduation,
Yeah.
but we always got to go off site. I feel bad for Mooresville High School because like ours was at the Asheville Civic Center, and so we would get to go down to the Asheville Civic Center, and then we just took the rest of the day off.
Yeah, that's what we did.
These poor kids actually have to be at school, but I think the seniors are done at this point anyway.
Yeah,
I think,
they are.
But he graduates, so we got family
good.
coming in. We're gonna have a very, very small, unfussy celebration for him at our house because he did not want anything major.
That's cool.
And then he's got a couple of graduation parties that he's going to.
Good.
So you're going to keep it low key and, just enjoy the weekend with family.
That's
and
exciting.
Everything like that. But congrats to all the grads out there. I know there's a number of
Absolutely.
graduations going on right now. And then obviously being Memorial Day weekend, obviously, Coca-Cola 600 is going on.
Mhm.
So if you're going out, apparently there's a bunch of VIPs going to be there. A lot of, I don't know if Trump's making an appearance or not, but I think I had heard that Vice President Vance might be there.
Oh, cool.
Pete Hegseth might be there. Again, plans change, obviously. I don't know, but you're not going to the race? No.
So I don't know if you remember this about me, but back in the day,
Well, you're still traumatized from what Strom Thurmond did at the last race you went to. When Strom Thurmond made a move on you. Good old Strom.
Oh my God.
In his defense, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
So,
So I enjoy having the race on in the background as I'm grilling out burgers and, enjoying friends and family over at the house on Memorial Day. I think because I grew up around it and I used to work in it, and then all that kind of like the going to the race on race day, it's a lot for me. So I appreciate it, and I had great opportunities to go, and I support NASCAR, but I'll do it at home by watching the ads and TV. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You get registered on the Nielsen box.
Yeah.
That helps more than anything with ad dollars.
Does it really?
I'm sure.
Well, now their first race is on Amazon Prime tonight. Do you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so they're moving over to Amazon Prime on a lot of their races and
Man,
stuff.
streaming taking over the world.
Yeah, it is. I mean, what's going to happen to network news? Who knows?
Well, the network news died a long time ago.
Yeah, that's for sure.
To be fair.
That's 100%.
But yeah, I'm with you. if I'm going to go to a race, no offense to the Charlotte Motor Speedway like that, the Coca-Cola 600 is without a doubt the most boring race to watch. I'm sorry, it just is. The person who's going to win, you generally know halfway through, unless they blow a tire, they're winning because they're always out front. It inevitably a thunderstorm will come through. I mean, it's a long race anyway. A thunderstorm will come through. It will be delayed an hour, 2 hours, something like that, and you get out at midnight or 1 a.m. And it's just like it has always like, no, can't do it. Roval, love it.
Yeah.
Roval, fun. Darlington, North Wilkesboro,
Rockingham.
Talladega.
Yeah.
Fun races to watch. The Coca-Cola 600 is not. It just isn't. And it's no. I don't think it's anybody's fault, but it's NASCAR's fault. But to figure out because but literally the car that gets out there, the one that runs at the lead, nine times out of 10, they're the ones that are going to win. There's very little passing. Very few wrecks, and which is a good thing, I guess. You don't want people hurt, but at the same time, it's just a boring race.
I'm going back to my same tenets. I think that stock cars should go back to stock cars. I think if you can buy that car on the showroom floor, then that car needs to be raced, and that's what stock car racing should be. And I think that
they should run with
interesting.
moonshine in the back.
Sure.
Because that's
Sure.
I mean that's moonshine. That's how it started. Bootlegging.
I know. You ain't telling me nothing.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure you knew. But also, before we get out, obviously, it's Memorial Day, time of remembrance for those who've given their lives for our country, and in service to our country. So, not Veterans Day, Memorial Day, where we remember. So, everybody, please take time as you are enjoying the weekend to remember those who have died in the service of our country, and be safe out there if you're on the lake.
Yes.
Please be safe. And everybody enjoy your weekend. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Say what you want.
Thank you for tuning in to We're Just Sayin' with Senator Vickie Sawyer and co-host David Coble. We appreciate your time and input as we discuss the issues shaping North Carolina. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we look forward to having you join us again next week for more updates and insightful conversations. Take care and keep participating in the conversation.
The AM WAME 92.9 W225BD Statesville.
WAME and Bunce Johnson are proud to present our national anthem, Bunce Johnson, where every detail matters. Call them at 704-87